So, Mike, I want to go to you on this. I know you didn't go through like this exact injury, but you're better suited than anybody as a former Texas Rangers pitcher. Is what, from what your understanding, just based on what we've heard, why would you get the Rangers staff involved, and what are we looking at then?
Oh, I got two reasons here. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'll let you have them because my reasons are jokes.
Well, I've asked multiple people. I don't know, who they talked to or anything like that. And they said, because, look, organizations can lie on what the real injury is. I mean, they can say certain things and you don't know. And the people that I talked to said what would be key here is to give you a better idea of how it happened. So I talked to Kavanaugh last night and I said, hey, like, was it a throw and then it was kind of like an oh no moment? Because it's going to be torn. And I was like, how was he throwing the ball the day before? Was he throwing the ball fine with no pain? At least from what we know, that's the key, is that there was no pain, nothing going on the day before when he was throwing the ball all around the field. And then something happened on that day, and he's like, I got to shut it down because that doesn't feel right. And he threw the ball. Kavanaugh said he threw the ball a couple more times. He's like, it just doesn't feel right, and I'm going to be, take caution here, which I think was very smart by Dak. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a tear or if it is just a strain. They're reporting a strain. If it's a tear, it's going to be very difficult to play through this throughout the season, from what I understand. But let's just say it's not a tear. Let's believe the Cowboys right now that it's just a strain. You're going to have to be really careful with this because usually stuff like this can happen when you don't warm up well and you just are like, I'm ready, let's go. And so you're going to have to take it nice and slow here to ease him back. It's probably not going to be all right, he's good to go, practice is happening. And Stephen Jones said that on with G-Bag Nation the last day or so that G-Bag Nation was there. But this isn't a minor thing. If it's a strain, you can shoot cortisone in there and mask the problem for a while, usually. Not
the pain,
100%.
mask the pain, okay.
Mask the pain.
But not the actual, reality.
It doesn't solve the problem. It just masks the pain so that you can play through the injury until you get to the end of the year, and then if you needed to do something to try to help it out at the end of the year, as in, like, the season's over, now let's do the right things to try to get this back to normal. That could be the case with the Cowboys go through this year with Dak Prescott. So it's interesting to see, and you do not want to give a cortisone shot right now. You don't, just so he could practice for the next 4 to 5 weeks to get ready for the season. That would be somewhat of a waste of a cortisone shot, from what I understand. You would want to, if you're going to inject them, which I would say at this point is likely that they're going to inject them with a cortisone shot before the season starts, you're probably going to do that on the Wednesday or Thursday before the Thursday night game.
This is
so you're going to do it about a week out.
Okay.
To then, usually a cortisone shot can last you a while. It's a matter. Can it last 2 weeks? Does it last 8 weeks? Does it last the whole season? Who knows? But you can't keep giving cortisone shots on a weekly basis.
It was interesting last week, I believe, Mike and I were discussing why more quarterbacks don't have Tommy John. Because you're sitting there throwing, and all the Rangers know is just give them Tommy John. We'll get them back in a couple of years. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But somebody just asked. They were like,
"What if the Rangers said that?"
Yeah, just have him Tommy John. He'll be okay. From the 972, how are you going to have an injury that has never been seen by a football staff? We are supposed to believe this guy going back to not normal again. We're screwed, and that's where I feel is you went to the Rangers. Because you have your staff has never seen this and doesn't understand it, and I'm confused by that, or they don't know anybody in the league that does know this information. That's never any other quarterbacks that have ever had this kind of thing happen before, and maybe you are trying to conceal. You don't want the Eagles to know that your quarterback has a certain injury. I get that. So, but you go to the Rangers and you're like, hey, this is something we've never seen before, and that's curious to me for one. But whenever it comes to, Mike, we were discussing why do these guys not have these types of injuries? And we were talking about with your forearm and your wrist area, you're putting more, you're throwing curveballs, you're throwing sliders, you're doing all those kinds of things, and that puts more strain on that area.
Right, on the elbow area.
But Mike, would a rotator cuff get a lot of strain from a quarterback that doesn't have his legs under him, maybe?
That's a possibility. I've heard from people that when you start, and he does use his legs a lot to throw the ball, from what I understand. I mean, that's what it looks like to me, but other people are like, look, he's not like a guy that you've seen. He's gotten tangled up. His legs are tangled up, and he uses his upper body strength and his arm strength to throw the ball like Brett Favre, John Elway, Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, they have special arms where they don't have to use their legs and can still throw it 40 yards. Like, I'm not saying Dak has a weak arm. I don't want that to be, but he's not one of these guys that has a supreme arm where, he doesn't have his legs and can still wing the ball all over the place. He has a good arm. But they also said, too, is a lot of injuries that back of the rotator cuff or underneath the armpit, it can also come from not warming up properly. And Dak did say that day he might have not, with what they were about to do that day, might have not warmed up his arm to then make the throws, the deep, hard throws that they were going to have to make. So that injury can also come from not warming up properly and just like, let's go do it. And when you're younger and you don't have any arm issues, a lot of times you're like, look, I don't need to do all those things. I'm good. Like, my arm never hurts,